Welcome to Echo Forge, dark fantasy and sci-fi stories from the edges of forgotten worlds. If you enjoy this kind of storytelling, hit like, subscribe, and tap the bell so you don't miss the next vision. Now, let's step through the gate.
The Hollow Guardian Act 2. It begins in the same place every time. Cold flagstone, the circle. But this time the circle is not empty when the chime rings. Claws are already on it. Teeth are already in the cracks. Weight presses down where the runes should have room to breathe. The chime hits the scattered plates and wakes them. Metal shudders. Pieces drag themselves toward one another like iron filings toward a magnet. A gauntlet skitters along stone and strikes a hound's jaw. A greave scrapes against beetle shell. The helm slams into place, crooked visor angled wrong, the world tilted. Pain blooms through every mismatched seam. The dungeon gives no pause. Hounds lunge before he can stand. Beetles pour over him in a living carpet. Mandibles seeking rune lines, hungry for the bright paths etched into his metal. The slime is there too, a thin sheen that catches on his sabatons and tries to eat him from the feet up. He is born into an ambush, born into correction. Guard surges up out of habit, out of old grooves. Guard. Stand. Remove. The command tries to lock his joints, tries to make him the same, but the circle is scarred. The central rune is cut. The tether that tightens with the command tightens wrong, like a knot pulled through a tear. It bites and slips. It bites and slips. In the slip there is a fraction of space. In that fraction he moves. He does not rise cleanly. He rises like something dragged out of a grave. He plants one foot, then the other, fighting the tilt of misaligned plates. A hound clamps down on his calf. Its teeth hit metal and find purchase in a seam. Pain flares, bright and informational. He brings his crooked gauntlet down and crushes the skull. Bone cracks. The hound goes limp. Two more leap. He swings, off balance, a wide arc that would have missed in any other life. It lands because the hounds have no fear. He knocks one aside, then takes the second by the throat and drives it into the circle hard enough to make the runes flicker. The circle hates impact now. The scarred rune flares angry and uneven. The tether twitches. The masked thing is not here. Not yet. But the dungeon is. The dungeon is always here. Beetles bite into the line that runs along his wrist. He shakes his arm and they cling. He slams his forearm into the flagstone, grinding shell into paste. More climb. He does not have breath to hiss. But something in him makes a sound anyway. A grinding vibration that is almost a growl. He looks down at the circle, at the gouge he carved across the central rune. It is still there. The scar did not heal. The dungeon has not repaired it. Or it cannot. Or it does not dare to. That gouge is a proof. That gouge is a door cracked open a hair. A thought shape presses against the emptiness inside him, sharper than why, down. Not a word he learned, a direction he feels. Because the tether pulls toward the circle like gravity. Because everything else is away. He turns. The command clenches. Guard. He should face the corridor mouth. He should wait for intruders. He should be the lock on the sealed door. But there are no intruders at the corridor mouth. Only monsters. Only correction. Only the dungeon trying to put him back into his groove. The guardian steps off the circle. Pain hits him the moment his sabaton leaves the etched line. Not physical pain, not bite or corrosion. Pressure. The tether drawing taut. The circle tugging at him as if a hook is set behind his breastplate. He takes another step. The tether tightens again. The scarred rune on the circle flickers. The pull wobbles. It is like walking on a chain that keeps going slack, then snapping tight. The dungeon wants clean control. He offers it only noise. A hound bites at his other leg. He does not stop to crush it. He drags it. The hound hangs on, snarling, nails scraping stone. He keeps walking. Beetles spill off his back in a stream as he moves, unable to keep purchase as momentum shakes them loose. The slime tries to cling to his feet. He walks through it anyway. Corrosion burns. It eats at old scars and makes them sting anew. He does not stop. He is done stopping. The corridor beyond the circle is the same corridor he has always known. Torch-black stone, the smell of old blood, the echo of boots that are never his. But something has shifted. He can feel it in the way the tether pulls. It pulls toward the circle, yes, but it does not pull with certainty. It pulls with complaint. He takes the corner. The tether lags a heartbeat behind him, like a chain dragged over stone. He moves faster. A run. Heavy armor running is not graceful, but he has done nothing but move and fight for endless cycles. He runs like inevitability. Behind him, the monsters scramble. They are not guarding a door. They are guarding him. They follow because the dungeon sends them. They follow because the dungeon cannot walk. He runs past the sealed door he once stood before. He does not stop to touch it. He does not stop to feel its runes. The command screams at him to turn. Guard. The tether yanks sideways. His torso twists. Pain flashes through his chest rune line. He stumbles. He catches himself on the wall, gauntlet scraping stone, sparks. A scrape mark remains, a white line in the dark. He looks at it for half a heartbeat. A mark. A thing that stays. He pushes off the wall and keeps running. The dungeon learns quickly. So does he. On the first loop of this new intent, he makes it only 3 turns before the tether locks and drags him back. Not by force of monsters, by force of rule. The pull becomes absolute, the way guard used to be. His joints seize, his plates hum. He is yanked backward, not with hands, but with certainty. He slides on stone, boots leaving streaks. He is hauled back toward the circle until his heels scrape the etched runes again. The moment his feet hit the circle, the pressure eases. The dungeon relaxes like a fist unclenching. Hounds close in. Beetles swarm! The masked thing appears at the corridor mouth. Wood mask catching torchlight. Runes on the mask faintly glowing. It holds the rune object. It watches him with no eyes. It tilts its head. It is not surprised. It knew the scar would make him try. It knew. And knowing is the dungeon's advantage. The rune object clicks. Light hooks into his chest rune line. Pain blossoms. Armor joints loosen in the wrong direction. The dungeon tries to unthread him again. The guardian does not fight to win. He fights to learn. He remembers the feel of the lock, the distance. the angle of the pull. He remembers. He dies. Not by choice this time. By correction. Claws, teeth, hook light. Nothing. Then chime. Reassembly. Claws already on the circle. Teeth already in the cracks. He stands crooked again. He steps off the circle again. The tether tightens. He runs. This time he reaches the scrape mark on the wall. The mark is still there. A pale scratch in the stone. The dungeon did not erase it. The dungeon does not reset everything. It resets him. He drags his gauntlet across the wall as he passes, deepening the mark. 2 scratches now. A sign. He does not know symbols, but he knows repetition. He makes another mark at the next corner, a gouge at hip height, a line like a slash, information that will survive his death. The monsters chase. The tether tugs. He pushes until it locks. He learns the limit. He learns the limit again. He learns it from 3 angles. He learns which turns make the pull tighten faster, which corridors let him steal a few more paces before the rule clamps down. He begins to map the dungeon without paper. His body becomes the map. Pain is a compass. The tether is a compass needle. The circle is north. Down is everywhere else. On one loop, he reaches a side passage he has never entered. Not because it was hidden, because he never needed it. Because guard never allowed curiosity. The passage slopes gently, the stone underfoot changing texture. Less worn, less touched by boots. Air tastes different, not damp corridor air. Dry. Old. The tether tightens as soon as he steps onto the slope. It hates the angle. It hates the direction. He keeps going. The pressure in his chest rune line becomes a constant burn. The scar on the circle is not enough to give him freedom. Not yet. It is only enough to give him pain that he can push through. He walks downhill with the tether screaming. He reaches a point where the pull is so strong his plates vibrate. His breastplate hums like a struck bell. His vision, already a narrow slit, blurs at the edges with the vibration. The dungeon is trying to drag him back. He plants his feet. He leans forward into the pull. Metal strains. Rivets creak. He takes one more step. It feels like stepping through a wall. Not physical. Rule. The tether snaps tighter, then slips. The scarred rune on the circle flickers through the stone, a distant ache. The pull is still there, but it is no longer absolute. He is past the point of clean control. He stands in that new space, trembling with strain. Behind him, monsters hesitate at the threshold. Not all of them. The hounds come anyway, teeth bared. Beetles spill forward. But the slime stops. It pools at the edge of the slope and shivers, as if the stone here rejects it. The guardian looks back at that line. A boundary. He has crossed his own boundary. He has not died. Yet. He moves. The slope leads to a stairwell. Stone steps spiraling down. The air grows colder with each step. The runes in his plates vibrate in sympathy with something below. A low hum like distant machinery. The tether does not like the spiral. It pulls backward at every turn, trying to straighten him, trying to align him with the corridor above. He descends anyway. The hounds follow, nails clacking on stone. He uses the spiral. He plants his shoulder against the inner wall and swings as the hounds leap, using their momentum against them. One breaks its neck on the wall. Another tumbles down the steps, yelping until it hits a landing and goes silent. Beetles fall like rain, shells clicking, many breaking as they bounce. He keeps going. He carves a mark into the wall at each landing. A gouge. A deeper gouge. A gouge in the shape of a downward slash. He does not need to see it later. He needs to know he can. The spiral ends at a door. Not the sealed door he guarded. A smaller door, half metal, half stone, with runes like veins running through it. It is not locked. It is closed, because no one has pushed it in a long time. The guardian places his gauntlet against it. The runes respond, not with rejection, with recognition. A faint warmth spreads through his palm. The tether shivers. The command pauses, confused. Guard. This is not the door. This is not the post. The guardian pushes. The door opens with a sigh of old dust. Beyond is a corridor that does not smell of blood. It smells of metal, oil, ash. The stone here is darker, smoother, carved with intent rather than eroded by violence. The light is different too, not torchlight. A low rune glow along the base of the walls, pale and steady. The guardian steps into it. The tether tightens. Then, for the first time, the pull changes direction. Not toward the circle, toward something deeper. A second pull, a whisper. The guardian stands still, plates humming. Two forces now tug at him. One behind, one ahead. The first is familiar. The second is new. It calls like the chime calls. Not command, invitation. He moves toward it. The corridor opens into a chamber. A wide room with a ceiling too high for torches. Runes web the walls in complex lattices. In the center is another circle. Not the same as his. The runes are different. More intricate. More worn. And cracked. A forgotten ring. A maintenance ring. A place where something was assembled long ago, then abandoned. The guardian steps closer. The tether behind him tightens, furious. The new pull ahead tightens too, curious. He stands with one foot on the old floor and one foot on the edge of the new circle. Pain splits across his chest rune line. Two hooks set in the same fleshless place. He looks down at the runes. He sees a gouge in the center. Not his gouge. An old scar. A crack that runs through the heart of the circle like lightning frozen in stone. Someone else damaged this anchor once. Someone else tried. A memory flickers that is not his. A sensation of being moved, of being reassigned, of being dragged from post to post, of never seeing the surface. The guardian steps fully onto the new circle. The runes flare, not bright, dim and tired. They recognize him, but they do not have full power. The tether behind him strains. The tether ahead hums. The command in him stutters. Guard. Maintain. Return. Three pressures collide. He lifts his gauntlet. He drags metal across the new circle's runes. Sparks. Pain. The runes flare in protest. He drags again. Harder. He is not trying to destroy this circle. He is trying to speak to it. He is trying to make the crack wider. He is trying to make it his. The masked thing appears at the far end of the chamber. It does not come from the corridor. It steps out of the wall shadow as if the rune lattices open for it. The wooden mask is etched with runes that glow brighter here. It is at home. It raises the rune object. Light hooks toward the guardian. The guardian turns. He does not run. Not this time. This circle is the point. This circle is the gamble. The hook light hits his chest rune line. Pain detonates. His plates shiver. His joints loosen in the wrong direction. The dungeon tries to unthread him like before. The guardian slams his gauntlet down onto the new circle and drags. The scar in the circle catches his metal and pulls, carving deeper. The runes flicker. The hook light wavers. The masked thing stiffens. It steps forward, fast now, no longer cautious. It does not want him to hurt this anchor. Because this anchor is not just his. This anchor is a node in the dungeon's spine. He drags again. The new tether hums. The old tether shrieks. The guardian feels his awareness stretch like metal heated too far. He is close to unmaking himself. He does not stop. I am not your tool. The thought hits like a hammer. The hook light snaps. The guardian lunges. He grabs the masked thing by the throat. Cloth under his gauntlet. Bone under cloth. He slams the masked thing down onto the circle. The rune object clatters in the masked thing's hand. The guardian's other gauntlet closes around it. It is not stone. It is not metal. It is something between cold and sharp with carved purpose. It vibrates against his palm like a trapped insect. The masked thing claws at his wrist. It is not strong. It is precise. It is designed for levers, not brawls. The guardian is brawl made into armor. He twists. He tears. The masked thing's arm snaps again, a wet crack under cloth. It makes no sound. The mask tilts. Runes on it flare. The chamber's lattice responds. Lines of light crawl along the walls toward the guardian. A net. A system. The dungeon is not sending monsters now. It is sending itself. The lattice lines converge on the new circle. They begin to form a cage. The guardian looks at the rune object in his gauntlet. He cannot carry it across death. The dungeon will not allow that. But maybe he can do something else. He presses the rune object against the crack in the circle, against the old scar. The runes flare as if in pain. The crack brightens. The new tether surges. For an instant, the guardian feels the pull ahead become stronger than the pull behind. For an instant, he feels the possibility of being born here, born away from the ambush, born away from the leash. The lattice cage closes. Light hooks into his joints. His plates begin to loosen. The dungeon is unthreading him again. The guardian tightens his grip on the rune object. He presses it harder into the crack. Pain is a storm. The chamber vibrates. The runes in the circle stutter. The tether behind him snaps tight like a whipping chain. The tether ahead hums like a drawn bow. The guardian makes a decision that is not command. It is choice. He turns the rune object like a key. The crack in the circle widens, stone grinding. The circle's glow flickers. The lattice cage falters. The masked thing jerks as if struck. The dungeon's pressure spikes. Immense. Number. Not a word. A wall. a refusal. The Guardian feels it in the metal. He feels the dungeon's mind press down. He feels himself begin to come apart. He could fight. He could try to survive this. But survival is not the goal. Change is. He looks at the new circle. He looks at the crack he has widened. He looks at the rune object in his hand. He does not know if this will work. He only knows the loop can be scarred. He only knows cracks stay. He drives the rune object down into the circle's central rune. Like a dagger, like a spike. The runes scream in light. The tether ahead surges. The tether behind convulses. The Guardian's plates separate. Not from impact, from unthreading. The lattice cage finally completes and tears him apart. Armor scatters across the new circle. Pieces shudder. They try to drag themselves together. They hesitate. The new circle pulls. The old circle pulls. Two anchors tug at the same scattered self. For an instant, in the stretched nothing between, the Guardian feels himself suspended between two births. A tool caught between two hands. Then the darkness closes. Nothing. Then the chime. Reassembly. Not on the old circle. Not under claws. Not in the ambush. Cold stone, smooth. Rune glow along the walls. He stands in the center of the new circle. The rune object is not in his hand. It is gone. Possessions do not cross rebirth. But something is different. The crack in the new circle is deeper. The runes around it glow faintly, uneven. And the tether that pulls at his chest is no longer singular. One pull behind, one pull ahead. He is tied to 2 points now. The dungeon has given him a new problem, but also a new range. He steps off the new circle. The pull behind tugs. The pull ahead tugs. He is held in tension like a bridge. For a moment he sways. Then he finds the balance. He turns toward the corridor that slopes deeper. The rune glow guides him. The command guard rises, confused, thin. It does not know what to guard here. There is no sealed door. There is only the dungeon's throat. The Guardian walks into it. And this time, no invisible hand yanks him back. But not in the same place. The air is colder here. Not the damp cold of corridors where blood dries slowly. A clean cold. A cold that tastes of stone and old metal. The walls are carved with intention. Angles are sharper. Corners are exact. The dungeon here is not a cave. It is a machine. The Guardian moves through a hallway lined with rune lattices that hum softly as he passes. They recognize him. They do not love him. They do not hate him. They register him, a system noting a malfunctioning part. The pull behind him tugs. The pull ahead tugs. 2 tethers. He feels them both as constant pressure in his chest rune line. Sometimes they align and he moves easily. Sometimes they oppose, and every step feels like tearing. He learns to angle his body just right, to keep the pulls from fighting too hard. He learns to use the tension as leverage, as balance, as a warning. When the pull behind spikes, he knows he is drifting too far from the new circle's influence. When the pull ahead spikes, he knows he is nearing something that wants him. He descends. There are fewer monsters at first, not because the dungeon is kinder, because the dungeon is more efficient. The first obstacle is not teeth. It is air. A corridor filled with pale fog that clings low to the floor. He steps into it and feels corrosion lick at his boots. Not like slime, slime eats. This fog unthreads. It seeks rune lines the way beetles sought them. It slides into seams and makes the etchings burn. He steps back. The pull behind tugs. The pull ahead tugs. He stands in the doorway, thinking. A word forms, learned from chalk and intruder mouths. Test. He extends one gauntlet into the fog. The metal blackens where the fog touches. The rune line along his fingers flickers. He pulls back. The blackness remains. It does not reset. Damage here is not always erased by the circle or the circles. He looks around the doorway. There are vents in the walls, narrow slits carved into stone. Rune glow pulses inside them like breathing. He presses his gauntlet over one vent. The fog in the corridor thins slightly. He moves to another, covers it. The fog thins more. He covers a third. The fog begins to retreat, drawn backward into the vents as if the corridor is exhaling. The dungeon built this hazard with control. Control can be used. He walks through the corridor as the fog drains away. It still kisses his armor. It still burns. But it does not drown him. At the far end of the corridor is a room that drops away. A vertical shaft. A bridge of stone spans it, narrow and unrailed. Below is darkness. Not empty darkness. Moving darkness. He hears chains shifting far below. The pull ahead tightens. He steps onto the bridge. Halfway across, the runes in the bridge flare. The stone under his feet vibrates. Gravity tilts. Not down. Sideways. His weight shifts violently toward the abyss. He slams his gauntlet into the bridge, claws at stone. His sabatons scrape and spark. The pull behind him jerks, as if trying to yank him back to safety. The pull ahead pulls the other way, as if the shaft wants him. He hangs there, armor scraping, held by two tethers and his own grip. The bridge hums. The gravity field strains. It is trying to peel him off like a magnet peeling metal filings. He drives his fingers into a crack between stones and wedges. He forces himself upright in slow increments, each movement fought. He reaches the far side and steps off the bridge. The gravity snaps back to normal behind him with a sigh. The bridge resets, runes dimming. A trap that resets. A system that corrects. He continues. He begins to see signs, not gouges he carved. Older signs. Scratches in the walls at shoulder height. Not random, not from monsters, from gauntlets, from someone like him. He follows them. The marks lead him through a maze of corridors that loop back on themselves, then break downward again. He carves his own marks beside them, 2 lines now. A dialogue in scratches. He reaches a chamber filled with sound. Not loud sound. A constant low vibration that makes his plates hum. The floor is covered in thin rune etchings like hair, all pointing toward a central pillar of stone. In the pillar is a slit like a mouth. From it comes the vibration. It reminds him of the chime. Not the chime itself, the source. A pulse that is older. He steps closer. The pull ahead tightens. The pull behind tightens. He is between. The vibration changes. It modulates. A pattern emerges. Not language, but rhythm. He remembers intruders clapping hands to signal. Tap, tap, tap. tap. He places his gauntlet on the pillar. The vibration enters him. It travels up his arm, into his chest, into the rune line where the tethers hook. For a moment he feels the two pulls align. For a moment he feels clarity. Then the pillar flares, and a lattice of light snaps around his arm like a cuff. The dungeon tries to seize him. He yanks back. The cuff tightens. The vibration spikes into pain. The guardian grabs the cuff with his other gauntlet and tears. Light stretches like silk. It snaps. The cuff dissolves. The pillar hum drops back to its previous steady tone, as if nothing happened. The dungeon notes his resistance. He notes its attempt. He moves on, down. The corridors become narrower, the ceilings lower. The rune glow grows brighter. Not torch-like, more like veins lit from within. He passes a doorway and sees a room filled with armor. Not standing, hanging. Suits of plate suspended from hooks in the ceiling, empty visors facing down. Some are intact, some are half disassembled, plates missing. Some are fused into the stone wall, as if the dungeon tried to store them and the rock swallowed them. The guardian steps into the room. The pull behind and ahead both tighten. The hanging armor does not move. Then one visor tilts. Slow. As if something inside heard him. A suit twitches, a gauntlet flexes, a leg shifts. A chime does not ring. There is no birth here. Only waiting. Only half-life. The guardian stands among them and feels a pressure that is like looking into mirrors, tools. All of them tools. Some broken, some unused. Some waiting for a command that will never come. A thought rises. Not just me. He reaches up and touches one hanging breastplate. The metal is cold. The runes etched into it are different from his. They are meant for a different post, a different command. He traces a line with his fingertip. The rune flickers faintly. He feels a whisper of something inside, small and dim. Not awake, not dead. The guardian withdraws his hand. He does not know how to free them. He does not know if freedom is what they would choose. He turns to leave. A suit's gauntlet shoots out and grabs his wrist. Not fast, not violent, desperate. The grip is weak. The armor hanging is drained, its runes dim. But the touch hits him with a rush of sensation. Memory fragments. A corridor he has never walked. A door he has never guarded. A loop of being dragged from circle to circle. A feeling of constant reassembly. A feeling of never having the time to think. A thought that is not his, but lands in him like a stone. H-E-L-P. The guardian freezes. The other armor's grip trembles. Its empty visor faces his. Two hollows facing each other. The guardian cannot speak, but he can do something else. He lifts his other gauntlet and scratches a line into the hanging armor's wrist rune. A small gouge. A scar. The hanging armor shudders. Its grip loosens. The rune line flickers and then steadies, not brighter, but different. Less clean. Less obedient. The armor's gauntlet falls away from his wrist. The suit hangs still again. But the pressure in the room shifts. 1,000 empty visors feel less empty. The guardian leaves. Down. The dungeon does not attack him immediately after this. That is worse. Silence is the dungeon thinking. He enters a hall lined with black stone and polished metal inlays. The floor is smooth enough to reflect the rune glow. His own shape moves beneath him, distorted. He sees himself as a tall shadow with a narrow face, an empty chest. He remembers the word they used, hollow. He hated it once because it was thrown like a stone. Now it fits. Hollow is not insult. Hollow is description. Hollow is space. Space can be filled with something other than command. The hall bends and opens into a chamber that makes his runes ache. A wide, round room. The ceiling is a dome carved with layers of runes like concentric scars. In the center is a pool. Not water, liquid metal. Not molten with heat, molten with light. It glows softly, white gold, and the air above it shimmers. The pull ahead tightens hard. The pull behind tightens hard. Both tethers want this place. This is a core function room, a forge, a repair basin, a place where the dungeon makes tools. Along the walls are grooves where armor pieces lie in neat rows. Helms, greaves, breastplates, not rotting, maintained. Waiting. The guardian steps closer to the pool. The heat light does not burn his plates. It warms them. The runes along his chest tingle. The scars in his metal itch, an impossible sensation. The pool calls to the crack in him. The crack he made in the circle. The crack he made in himself. The dungeon wants to fix him. The guardian wants to change. He looks at his chest rune line. The hook points. 2 tethers. 2 pressures. He knows if the dungeon fixes him clean, it will make him obedient. It will make guard absolute again. It will erase his misalignment. It will erase his choice. He steps back. The pool flares brighter, as if offended. A lattice of light rises from it, thin lines that reach toward him like fingers. The dungeon offers repair. The dungeon also offers restraint. He sees now the truth of systems. Every gift is a leash. He turns away from the pool. The lattice fingers snap forward, faster than he expects. They wrap around his ankles. They climb his legs. They tighten. The guardian fights, dragging his feet, trying to pull away. The lattice pulls him toward the pool. The pull ahead and behind both spike, as if the tethers are being used as reins. He digs his gauntlets into grooves in the floor. Sparks. He stops his slide. The lattice tightens. It begins to unthread his greave runes, making them flicker. Pain climbs. The guardian snarls without breath. He looks at the pool. He looks at the lattice. He understands. It will not let him leave unchanged. He can fight until he breaks. Or he can step in and choose what changes. Choice. The most dangerous thing a tool can learn. He releases his grip. He steps forward. The lattice fingers loosen, guiding rather than dragging. The pool's surface ripples with light. He steps into it. The light metal rises around his sabatons, then his greaves. It is not hot. It is cold and burning at once, like corrosion but intelligent. It enters seams. It flows into cracks. It touches rune lines and makes them sing. Pain becomes music. The guardian stands in the pool and lets it climb. Up his thighs, over his hips, across his breastplate. The light metal seeps into the gouge he carved into his own chest rune in earlier loops, the tiny imperfections he has made to weaken obedience. It tries to smooth them. He resists, not with strength, with intent. He focuses on the scars. He holds them in his mind like shapes. He remembers every time the tether yanked him back. He remembers every time he said, inside himself, "I am not your tool." He forces that thought into the light metal. The pool responds. Not as a mind, as a mirror. It takes his intent and makes it structure. The light metal hardens where he wants hardness. It vents where he wants release. It thickens where he wants endurance. It leaves the scars, not the same scars, new ones. Scars that are not damage. Scars that are design. He feels his joints shift. His shoulder plates adjust, sliding into a configuration that allows wider rotation. His gauntlet fingers lengthen slightly, claws sharper, better for carving. A line of runes along his spine changes pattern, less like a single chain and more like braided cord. The two tethers in his chest still exist, but their hooks shift. They are no longer set in the same point. They spread, distributing pressure. The pull becomes less like strangulation, more like tension he can manage. The pool reaches his helm. Light laps at the visor. For an instant, his world is pure white. He is blind. He is weightless. He feels the dungeon's hand inside him, trying to rewrite. He feels his own hand pushing back. He holds on to the thought that defines him now. Not tool. The pool recedes. Light metal drains away, returning to the basin as if the dungeon exhales. The guardian steps out. His plates gleam faintly, not polished, but renewed. The scars are still there, but they are purposeful now. He flexes his fingers. The movement is smoother. He turns his head. The helm's crooked angle is gone. Alignment, but not obedience. He looks at the pool. It glows steady again, indifferent. It did what it was built to do. It repaired a part. The part fought back. He leaves the forge chamber before the dungeon decides to try again. Down. He finds himself in a place where sound changes. A hall of stone that amplifies every scrape of metal. A hall where echoes linger too long, repeating. He takes one step and hears it return 3 times. He takes another and hears it return 5. The hall is lined with alcoves. In each alcove is a face carved into the stone, not human. Masks, dozens, hundreds. Wooden masks carved into stone, each etched with runes. The guardian feels the pull ahead tighten, like a throat closing. The depth warden is close. The masked thing. Maybe not one. Maybe many. Maybe the mask is the interface and the dungeon behind it is the mind. He walks deeper into the hall, and the echoes begin to change. Not just footsteps, voices, words, hollow, empty. Warden, monster, guardian, dungeon-born. The words drift out of the stone like breath. He hears them in different tones, from different mouths, layered, not present, past. The dungeon is playing memory back at him. Or it is harvesting the words he learned and returning them sharpened. He stands in the center of the hall and the echoes build. He hears death, a spear scraping his breastplate, a net tightening, chains dragging him back, beetles chewing, hounds snarling, the chime. The chime, the chime. The hall becomes a storm of repetition. The guardian's runes flare. The two tethers tug in opposite directions, each trying to pull him out of the hall. He plants his feet. He refuses to be dragged. The echoes intensify. He sees in the reflections on the polished floor, not his own armor, but a dozen versions. Armor with different dents, different cracks. Armor with plates misassembled, armor with a helm missing, armor on its knees, armor shattered, armor standing. All of them him. All of them not him. The hall forces him to look at his loop as a thing, a system, a cage made of time. He feels a thought rise that is quiet compared to the others. Who am I? Not why am I here? Not what is this? WHO. The dungeon answers the way it always has, with pressure, with command, with labels, guard, warden, empty, hollow. The guardian lets the words wash over the emptiness inside him. Then he chooses one. Not the one the dungeon wants, not the one the intruders threw. He chooses the one that means origin, dungeon-born, not as title, as fact. He is made here. He is shaped here. He will not be defined by the job the dungeon wrote on him. He will define himself by the place that tried to own him. He lifts his gauntlet and carves a mark into the stone floor. A rune. Not a real rune. A gouge in the shape of a simple thing. A line that splits, then rejoins. Two tethers. One on self. He finishes the mark, and the echoes falter. The hall quiets. The masks in the alcoves do not move, but the rune glow in their carved eyes dims slightly, as if the dungeon has blinked. The guardian leaves the hall. The pull ahead is tighter now. The depth warden knows his name, or his choice. He descends into a corridor that narrows until his shoulders scrape stone. The walls here are covered in runes that look like restraints, loops, hooks, braids, every line a way to bind. The guardian moves carefully. He has learned that the dungeon at this depth prefers traps to monsters. A rune under his foot could seize his ankle. A line at chest height could hook into his rune scar and pull. He tests with his gauntlet before stepping. Tap, tap. He has no voice, but he can make sound. The corridor opens abruptly into a chamber with a ceiling lost in darkness. A bridge spans another shaft, wider than the first, and the far side is a platform with a tall figure standing on it. Not a monster, not a hanging armor, a construct. Tall, thin, wrapped in cloth like bandages, a wooden mask on its face, runes etched deep, glowing bright. In its hand is a long staff, tipped with the same cold, sharp material as the rune object he held, the depth warden. It raises the staff. The runes in the chamber flare. Light hooks into the guardian's chest rune line. Not one hook. Many. A net of control. The guardian feels his joints stiffen, then loosen, then stiffen again, as the hooks find purchase. The depth warden's voice is not voice. It is vibration through the runes, a pressure in the air. Return, guard, obey. The words are not spoken. They are imposed. The guardian staggers. His new braided spine runes hold, distributing the pull. He does not collapse. He looks at the depth warden. He sees the mask. He remembers hands under cloth. Bone. A thing that is not the dungeon itself, but the dungeon's hand. He takes a step forward. The net tightens. Pain spikes. The depth warden lifts its staff and turns it slightly. The hooks twist. The guardian's plates begin to unthread, seams loosening. The dungeon is trying to dismantle him again. The guardian does not fight the hooks directly. He fights the pattern. He has scars. He has misalignment. He has choice. He lifts his gauntlet and drags it across his own chest rune line. A deliberate scrape. Metal on metal. Sparks fly inside him. Pain is white. The hooks stutter as the rune line shifts under them. Their grip slips. The net loses cohesion. The depth warden stiffens, surprised. The guardian drags again, carving a small new scar across the line where the hooks keep catching. He is hurting himself. He is rewriting his own binding. The depth warden thrusts the staff forward. A spear of light shoots and hits the guardian's shoulder rune. It tries to lock his arm. He tears his arm free, ripping cloth and light alike. He runs, not away, toward. The bridge between them is narrow. The shaft below yawns. Chains shift in the dark beneath, waiting. The depth warden raises the staff and the bridge runes flare. Gravity tilts again. Sideways. The guardian is pulled toward the abyss. He uses the pull ahead and behind. He leans into the tension, letting the backward tether hold him like a safety line. He steps sideways across the bridge, fighting gravity with tether and will. The depth warden advances, precise, staff tapping the stone. Tap. Tap. Each tap makes a rune flare. Each flare tries to hook the guardian. He is close now. Close enough to strike. The depth warden swings the staff. The guardian ducks, the staff passing over his helm and cracking the rune glow in the air. He brings his gauntlet up and catches the staff. The cold, sharp material bites into his metal fingers. Pain. He tightens his grip anyway. The depth warden pulls, trying to use the staff as a lever to drag him into a bind. The guardian pulls back. Raw strength. He yanks the depth warden forward, off balance. For the first time, the cloth-wrapped figure stumbles. It is not used to being grappled. It is used to issuing commands and letting systems do the killing. The guardian slams his forehead into the mask. Wood cracks. Runes flare wildly. The depth warden reels. The hooks in the air flicker. The guardian drives his knee into the depth warden's ribs. He feels brittle bone under cloth. The depth warden makes a sound then, a dry click like runes shifting. It twists, trying to slip away. The guardian holds. He rips the staff from its hand. The cold, sharp tip scrapes his gauntlet, leaving a deep gouge. The staff is heavier than it looks. It vibrates with stored command. The guardian turns and swings it like a club. It strikes the depth warden's shoulder. Bone cracks. Cloth tears. The mask flares bright, and the chamber's runes scream in sympathy. The depth warden staggers backward toward the edge of the platform. The shaft yawns behind it. The guardian steps forward, staff raised. The depth warden lifts one hand, and the air fills with hooks again, desperate now. The guardian feels them catch in his new scars, in his old cracks. He fights through. He drives the staff forward, not as weapon, but as key. He presses the cold tip into the mask's rune line. The runes on the mask shudder. The depth warden freezes. The imposed words in the air falter. Return becomes noise. guard becomes static. The guardian leans in. Not physically, mentally. He pushes his thought through the staff, through the runes. Not tool. The mask splits. A crack runs from brow to chin. Light leaks out. The depth warden convulses. Its cloth unravels in a sudden wind. Underneath is not flesh, not fully. Bone and metal mixed. A construct built around a skeleton. A tool, too. The guardian sees it for what it is. A caretaker construct made to keep other constructs in line. A leash holder. It was never free either. The depth warden claws at the staff, trying to pull it out. The guardian twists. The staff tip breaks off inside the mask. The depth warden screams without voice, a rune howl that makes the chamber shake. The hooks in the air lash wildly. One catches the guardian's chest and yanks. Pain flares. He nearly loses footing. The backward tether tightens and holds him. The forward tether tightens and pulls him toward the depth. He balances on tension. He shoves the depth warden, not hard. Enough. The depth warden stumbles backward off the platform and falls into the shaft. It does not flail. It drops like a cut puppet. The hooks vanish as it falls. Silence returns, thick. The chains below shift. A distant crash. Then nothing. The guardian stands at the edge and looks down. No light rises, no chime. No reassembly. Whatever fell is not anchored to a circle, or its circle is far away, or the dungeon will rebuild it later. The guardian turns from the shaft. The staff in his hand is broken, tip missing. He should drop it. He cannot carry possessions across death, but he can carry change. He brings the broken staff to his chest rune line and presses it against the fresh scar he carved to disrupt the hooks. The cold material bites into the groove. He presses harder. He forces it into the scar like a splint, like a thorn. Pain blooms. The runes around the scar flare, then settle, incorporating the foreign material. He feels it latch, not like a possession in a gauntlet, like a fragment embedded in his binding. If he dies now, will it remain? He does not know. But he feels the tethers adjust around it. A new rigidity. A new possibility. He moves on. Beyond the platform is a door, not sealed, not guarded. A door that opens when he approaches, sensing the embedded shard in his chest. The dungeon recognizes the caretaking key. It thinks he is a warden. It is wrong, but he will use its mistake. The door opens into an antechamber where the rune glow is brighter than anywhere else. The walls pulse, not light, heartbeats. A massive structure fills the far end of the chamber. A gate of interlocking stone and metal, runes braided in layers so dense they look like woven fabric. In the center of the gate is a circular indentation, a socket, the shape of the staff tip he broke. The guardian steps closer. The pull ahead becomes immense. The pull behind becomes thin, distant. The old circle's influence fades like a bad memory. The antechamber smells of ozone and ancient dust. The air vibrates with the same tone he felt in the pillar room, the pre-chime pulse. He reaches out and places his gauntlet on the gate. The runes respond, not with rejection, with hunger. He feels the dungeon's mind closer than ever, pressing against his metal, tasting his scars. He feels a question from it, silent and vast. Are you functioning? The guardian does not have a voice to answer. He answers with his existence, with his refusal to return, with the shard embedded in his chest, with the marks he carved, with the name he chose. Dungeon-born. He stands before the gate transformed, not free, not yet, but no longer the same tool that stood in a circle and waited. He has walked the dungeon's throat. He has fought its hand. He has rewritten his own binding. He can feel the heart of the place beyond this gate, a machine made of death and rebirth, a chime turned into a prison. He does not know why it exists. He does not know what waits beyond. But he knows this. He is close enough now that the truth cannot stay hidden much longer, and he is strong enough now to survive the answer.
Thanks for watching Echo Forge. If this story resonated with you, leave a comment, hit like, and subscribe so the next tale finds you. Share this with someone who loves dark fantasy or twisted sci-fi, and I'll see you in the next world.